Hi everybody, this is Shyvalry again. Another video today, this time recapping the recent Vassal one-day Swiss tournament. I believe this is the second time that Green Knight has hosted this, kind of a one-day tournament this past Sunday. We had 12 people compete, and I wanted to do a quick tournament report about the experience. First off, obviously thank you immensely to Green Knight for running this. He does a great job running all these events, and this is one of my favorites that he's done. I just really like the idea of getting a good competitive 3 rounds of standard Swiss all in one day, kind of like a little mini store tournament almost. Last year, I think there were significantly more people. I think this year, just with people's schedules got in the way, and we just finished up the World Cup and everything. I competed in this tournament. I wanted to do a little report of my games and how everything went overall. So I'm going to start off just very quickly going through everyone's list. Like I said, there's 12 of us, so not too many. And then I'll go through each game rather quickly. I don't want to spend too much time on any of them because we got 3 games to get through, and then I'll wrap up at the end. So going through lists, we've got. I believe I hope I say all these names right. If I don't, in the comments, just correct me. We've got Maturin with Plo Koon list, Acclimator with Navuta B, Consular to slap Mercy Mission onto and get another activation, and then 2 Peltas. One's got Prox Mines on it. Then a Squad Ball of Axe, Anakin, 2 Deltas, and 4 Arcs. Kind of a slow-moving Squad Ball, but one that's very effective. And this is a good list. In terms of Plo Koon, I kind of gave Plo Koon a bit of a hard time in my tier list video. I still think he's good, but I didn't rate him all that highly. And this list, I would say, is a good Plo Koon list. Next up, we've got mine. Everybody knows mine. Everybody loves mine. I won't spend too much time on it, but we got the standard assault frigate, MC30 GR75s, and my squad ball. I was mainly using this tournament to practice for Adepticon. And this is a list, as you all know, that I've been running for a long time. It's kind of like my signature thing for the last 4 or 5 months. So it's getting close to being time to move on to something new, but I needed practice for Adepticon, so this is what I ran. We've got Skycake's list. He's got Muni with Trench, a super kitted Munificent there. A classic Pat's Fist with Veteran Captain, which I thought was pretty cool. We got the hard sell there, and then 5 hyenas, 5 vultures. A lot of fun. Good to see Trench on the table. We got another agate list here for, and I hope I say this right, Pluistin. Beats me. I apologize if I said that incorrectly. He's got agate on an MC75, the one with the turbo laser on it. He's got MC30, very standard build, and then an assault frigate Mark IIB with ECMs and linked. And then, I believe 5 squads, Dutch, Wedge, Lando, 2 A-Wings. We've got Admiral Ream, Bale squad list, really kitted Acclimator here, Navuta B, Consular, Armed Cruiser, 2 Peltas, got a bunch of mines, I believe that's 5 mines, 6 mines, I forget. And then a squad ball of Anakin, Ahsoka, Axe, Kickback, and 4 Y-Wings. This is the first time I've seen a Bale squad list on the table. I haven't played against Bale very much, so this is pretty cool. We've got an SSD, which is nice, a command prototype no less. And this is kind of a different take on an SSD list. You get the command prototype with Piet, a Gauze, and then a bunch of bombers. 3 TIE bombers, Gamma, Tempest, Reimer, and Mauler. Very unique list. I don't know how competitive it is necessarily, but I think it's a lot of fun to try to get to use the command prototype and do something other than Ravager. So I like this a lot. We got Paul Heaver with a TF list. TF is on a hard sell down here, and then he's got a battle refit and 2 Rex supports. No Pat's Fist, interestingly enough. Yeah, maybe that was a conscious decision not to move it, not to use it, excuse me, or maybe he's got some other ideas. And then 4 tries. Specre, I never know how to say this name. I've played against this guy a decent amount. I believe he won the Vassal Second Chance tournament, the Second Chance World Cup tournament, and this is a very similar list to what he was running. I think he's changed something here, maybe, but he's got, or it might be exactly the same. Raid bot on a Providence, and then 2 Rex with Nova and Pacifist. This is hard to go against if you don't have the right tools to deal with it. It's a lot of firepower. We got Docta. He was running Akbar on a assault frigate, CR90, MC30, torpedo, not scout, which I thought was interesting for Akbar. Maybe it just came down to points, or maybe I guess he got the enhanced armament, so he can actually throw at long range. That makes more sense. And then GR75 and a ball of Biggs Jan 4 X-wings. This is a very, very tar pit kind of ball. We got Michael with Martuk list. It's a bit less clear in this format, but it looks like a Star Frigate. Wreck with Pacifist, and then a transport with Bomber Command Center. And then he's got Flak, DIS, DBS, 3 Hyenas, and 2 Tri-Fighters. So interesting squad ball there. That's a Martuk with heavy squads is, again, not something I've seen, so that's an interesting list. We have Didios, I think. Aaron, I don't know how you say the username there. We got MC30 Star Cruiser with Kirsta, so that's our 3rd Kirsta so far, I think. With Mon Caron build, pretty aggressive. Corvette A, Corvette B, both pretty cool with projection experts, that's interesting. GR75, and then Lando, Martin Matten, LOL. Corrin, Shara, and a VCX. Interesting squad ball there. I'd be interested to hear, Aaron, if you're watching this video, let me know how Mart did in this tournament for you. I wasn't really able to catch any of your games. Most of my games went pretty long. But I'd be interested to hear if you got any use out of Mart, because I have had 0 success with him. Then we got Backseat Admiral with Kraken. 2 MC30 Scouts and an Assault Frigate. 6 X-Wings, GR75. This is an interesting list. I'd be interested to hear, how these games went. Just because the Assault Frigate, playing it from experience, doesn't always want to be at speed 3. And it doesn't have an amazing speed 3 nav chart. And then the Scouts are both interesting with salvo tech on both of them. That's very interesting. I'd be interested to hear about these games. Backseat Admiral, if you're watching. But that's all the lists, so let's hop into Game 1. Game 1, I got matched up with Joseph, Skycake. This is almost a rematch of our Second Chance Vassal World Cup game, for those of you who have been paying attention. He also ran Trench against me, and this is just a bit more detailed look at his list. It's a tanky Muni, because he's got thermals, he's got engine techs on it, Sana Lore, so kind of hard to take down. And then the Pacifist, this is just classic. And then this is the same squad ball he ran against me. In the Second Chance World Cup, he was running double Recusant instead of a Muni Recusant. So, bit different, but very similar idea. And then my list is almost the same as the Second Chance World Cup. I changed a few small things. But I've got pictures because I didn't want to go through each game and spend a lot of time. So these are going to go kind of fast, but I just wanted to give an idea of how each game went. So this was deployment of Game 1. He's got flagship out here, Pacifist coming right down the middle so he can threaten everything, and then his mess of squads there. He picked my most wanted in this situation. I had most wanted, fighter ambush, and superior positions. So he picked most wanted. I put it on his Recusant and obviously on my Hondo transport down here. So this is deployment. Jumping to, this is the start of round 2. I jumped these guys up a little bit in speed. He came in fast and furious, speed 3 with that Recusant, and so he's got range on both of these guys. Squad's just kind of protecting myself as best I can. And importantly, and something we discussed after the game, he did not engine tech turn 1 with his flagship over here, so it is not actually in range of any of my ships. And as second player, I can stall both my combat ships out to where he doesn't get to shoot anything with this. And we talked about it after the game, and that was probably a bit of a mistake. So we jump to this turn. This is his recusant shot at the MC's 30. He has activated a lot of his squads already because he has gone with both the hard cell and the muni thrown squads. He has killed 2 of my squads at this point and then bombed once into the rear of the MC30. And this is his Pat's Fist shot at the MC30, which, you know, if there was 1 accuracy, that's not really a problem. If there was more than 1 accuracy, then it becomes a problem for the MC30. But he rolled none. It's a pretty good Pat's Fist roll. It's not the most insane thing I've ever seen, but pretty good Pat's Fist roll, and I'm able to take that decently well. As you can see, I've already discarded one of my evades in this picture, so I end up canceling 3 dice. I cancel a double and 2 red crits, and end up only taking 4, which that's just the power of foresight, right? And you can kind of see a bit more of the board state here. He has thrown everything at me, and I am struggling to deal with his squads at this point. This is the end of that round. Like I said, we're kind of jumping a bit. I don't want to spend too much time. I have managed to thin out a decent amount of his squad ball. It looks like I have killed 3 out of his 10, and he's killed 2 out of my 5. Shara is right where she loves being, in the middle of the party, locking down all those squads. I think Ketsu's locking down a couple of them as well. He's got 1 bomber out here who's going to end up being relevant. I was able to do some pretty good damage. He importantly was able to keep the recusant out of close range of the MC30 by bumping his muni over here, which was a very smart play. He did kind of like a jig jog to where he rammed at speed 3, jumped back to 2, and was at medium of the MC30. So even though it was the most wanted ship, I only ended up being able to throw 5 blue dice total with a double arc versus the insane amount of dice I would have been able to pour into it if I was at close. The assault frigate also got some decent shots on it. As you can see, I have, hard to tell in this picture, but I have gotten rid of most of his relevant defense tokens, and he's got no shields on these 2 sides here. So things are looking okay, but he is also first player, so that becomes relevant. Jumping forward a bit, he activated Pat's Fist, and he actually had a double arc on me at close range with his rear and side, but didn't roll quite enough damage. I was able to mitigate a good amount of it with defense tokens. He activated his squads, and they couldn't do much because they're all tied down by Shara, so as you can see, they are a lot more worse for wear at this point. So the MC30, importantly for me, survives. One of these shots was obstructed, and so he probably wouldn't have been able to anyway, just based on my hull, shields, defense tokens, etc. But always fortunate for the MC30 to survive. This is its activation. He just barely stays out of the double here. But this is that front shot after rerolls and everything. And I believe I've got I raxed here as well, obviously. So I H9'd that to an accuracy and hit it with 7 damage. I think he was able to reroll. I obviously locked brace. He was able to re-roll a double into a normal hit with his evade, but that's a great MC30 shot, and so I was happy to see that. And then this is the end of round 4. His recusant, importantly, has survived my squads on 1 hull. I was able to bring in Ketsu, and she only rolled 1 damage, and then Korin whiffed. And so I was not able to actually kill it this round, which stinks, but it's on 1 hull. It should die. He has moved the Muni up here to threaten both of these ships, and he's first player. I was able to kill the hard cell with the assault frigate, and so it's up here, but it's these 2 ships are not in a great place because that's a full health rerun to go Muni, and both my ships are kind of starting to hurt a bit. But I'm in a better place squad-wise. I have taken down 6 of his 10 squads and still have 5 of my own alive, so my squad ball finally going to work here. My squad ball is quite good against generics as long as I don't get alpha'd too hard, which in this case I didn't get hit too hard in the alpha, and so my squads were able to start to do some work. Here we have the end of round 5, start of round, this is the... I may have mixed it up. I think this is the start of round 5. Last one, this past picture, this is the start of round 4. So this is the start of round 5. My squads have killed. He went first with the Muni to guarantee killing the MC-30, and then shot the assault frigate as well. I wiped all of his squads and killed the Recusant. So I'm in a pretty good place by now, but it's getting a little hairy because he's got a shot this turn at my side, and this bomber still out here that I'm not close enough to lock down. And he's first player, and he's got engine techs, and I'm pretty close to the top of the board. This is the start of round 6, and like I said, this bomber is continuing to pester me. I've got no shields left and 5 hull. He has a double arc at medium, which I did my absolute best to get out of the double arc or to get to long range, either one, and I just couldn't do it because this is the edge of the board up here, and so I just couldn't get any better maneuver. I really thought I could get out of the double, but I am firmly in it, and my squads have come up. They're not really going to do anything relevant. I just started pestering the Munificent, but this is a very bad spot for me, and so this is the start of round 6. This is his first shot before any defense tokens are spent. He locked down my evade and my brace, and so I discarded the evade with Agate and rerolled the double into a normal hit, so I took 2 damage here. And this is the second shot, and I'm on 3 hull with both my defense tokens. So I braced this to 2, went down to 1 hull, and this is, I feel kind of bad about this. So I had not dealt my cards from the first attack yet, because we rolled both of them quickly, just to see what would happen, because we didn't think it'd be relevant. I was sure the assault frigate was dead, but this shot, getting 2 accuracies in a blank was huge for me, and getting it down to 2 damage by evading 1 in that double into 1 hit made me think, oh, maybe there's a chance. But I had not dealt the cards yet. I take 2 cards from this attack, no crits. I had not dealt them yet. And then I take 2 more cards here with a crit. And when I went to deal the cards out after this, I accidentally flipped up the first card I picked, which is not what I was supposed to do. I was supposed to have taken 2 face down and then taken 1 face up and another 1 face down. I didn't do that, and the one I flipped ended up being a structural, which we thought, before we realized it, that he had won on the structural, which I was, super sad about, and he was getting hype. But once we realized the mistake, we asked for a ruling on that, rules-wise, and they said we were supposed to play it as we should have, since the board state hadn't actually changed, and we could go back easily. And so when I dealt the cards correctly, the one that ended up being a crit was not a structural. It was like engine failure or something. And so the assault frigate ends up living on 1 health, which that's one of, if not the closest game of Armada I've ever played. It really did come down to whatever that crit was, and we thought at first that it was the structural, and I lost on that RNG. But, you can't always pin these all in one moment. There's a lot of moments throughout the game that contribute to a result. But I got lucky with the crit not being a structural in the end, and the flagship survives on 1 hull, meaning I don't get tabled, which means we end up like this. I won the game 339 to 137, factoring in the most wanted and points and stuff like that. If I would have lost, I would have lost 7-4 if I ended up getting tabled. But since I won and I did not get tabled, I won 8-3 when the scores shook out. So these are the results after round 1. I beat Skykick 8-3. I believe this game here was a 10-1, and you can read through these at your leisure. Anyway, going into round 2, I was at table 2 against Admiral Ream. Admiral Ream, you let me know after our game that you were a fan of the videos, you were an active viewer, so I appreciate that. Thank you very much for watching my content, and I really enjoyed our game here. And I should back up and say, Joseph, I really enjoyed our game very much. I look forward to hanging out with you at Adepticon. You and I have had 2 very close games on Vassal, so I look forward to many more. It was a good time. And likewise, Admiral Ream, I had a very good time in our game. This was a list, like I said earlier, that I have not really seen before. Bale on a Christmas tree acclimator here, 4 ships, a bunch of proximity mines, and then a pretty decent squad ball there. This was my round 2 game. This is another game where I had bid, so I took second, and Admiral Reem picked my fighter ambush, unsurprisingly. I had thought about taking first here, but I really didn't want to fly into all those squads, and I was worried that the acclimator could jump out at speed 3 with Bale nav dials. So I took second player. It was also partially to see how my list did, allowing my opponent to pick fighter ambush when they had a really big squad ball, and so this was a great learning opportunity for me. So this is deployment. He has 6 proximity mines, and he put them all over here, so I just said, yeah, no, I am not dealing with those. My ships don't have all that much hull. The assault frigate could kind of take some mines, but I don't want to test that. And so my plan here was slow roll up here, make him come to me, keep my squads over towards this side because he's got mercy mission on this consular, so he can just swing it around slowly. So I wanted to be able to kind of threaten him, keep my squads, in this threat range, so that he would really have to think about that, and then bring my ships, slowly around this side and try to engage that way. But mainly, I don't want to jump in there and let him flak my squads because he, I think, has the advantage because he's got flight controllers and Ahsoka and stuff like that. Ahsoka the squad, excuse me. So anyway. End of round 1, start of round 2, not much has changed. Just kind of moving towards each other a little bit. Start of round 3, not much has changed, just slowly creeping up there. But we're kind of going at each other, so there's at least going to be a fight eventually. This is start of round 4, and a couple things to point out here. First of all, I idiotically jumped my squads in to kill a Y-Wing that was a little bit far up. It was absolutely bait. I thought I could kill it with Corrin and the 2 YTs, or even just Corrin and 1 YT if I rolled well, because I just need 6 damage. But this game, my squads rolled horribly. This was the worst my squads have rolled in a long time. I had, at one point, 4 different squad attacks totaling 14 or 15 dice, blue dice, where I rolled 0 damage. Each die has a 50% chance of being a hit. And I rolled 0 damage on 14 dice at one point, which was insane. But that doesn't excuse the fact that I sent 4 squads to go kill a Y-Wing outside of my flak bubbles. This was so stupid. So stupid. And he punished me for it. The other thing I want to point out is he jumped the acclimator to speed 3. He had... I believe it was 2 or 3 navs and 2 or 3 engine repairs on Bale. I forget exactly what it broke down to. And so he jumped the acclimator to speed 3, presumably because he'll be able to slow it down with Bale dials. But he's coming in very fast with a ship that can't really turn without help at my combat ships over here. And so while I made a huge mistake here with my squads, this was a very aggressive move by him that I end up punishing. This is the end of that round, start of round 5 here. He is still at speed 3 with this. He is double arced right now, I believe, by the assault frigate. As you can see, a lot of my squads have been killed. I am down to 5 squads, so I already lost 2 YTs. But I was able to, with a combination of grit and his stuff being heavy, jump Lando and a couple of my squads over here and start bombing into the side of the acclimator. Not only softening it up, but netting myself some objective tokens, which was nice. Nice little bonus. I really didn't think I'd be able to get any. I thought all my squads would be tied down, but with all the Y-Wings being heavy, my squads were actually able to move around pretty well. At this point, I have killed still 1 Y-Wing. And I have lost 2 YTs, but this acclimator is really not in a great spot because the board edge is up here, and it's speed 3, and it kind of needs to get out because I've got shots on it. I also have a close range from my side to the rear of the acclimator with the MC30, which I swung in here at speed 4, and I am set up to where no matter where this ship moves, speed 1 or speed 2, it should be double arced, and I get to go last, which is very important. So things happen, things move around, and we get to this. He activates the acclimator first, jumps up here things have shot. I've got the acclimator down to 2 hull with no redirect. My assault frigate is all right here in the mess. He was able to ram and kill one of my transports. Squad war, again, has not gone great for me. I'm down to 3 squads now, and he still has, still got 4, or excuse me, he's got 5 left to my 3. So I am definitely losing the squad battle, but I get this monster shot on the side of this Pelta, and I one-shot it. This is, he evaded and re-rolled one of these for a double into a double. Even if he rolled it into a single hit, he still dies. Because I got 1 natural accuracy, I was able to H9s to another accuracy. I had a Confire, which skilled first officer, fantastic card on an MC30. I was able to use a Confire dial and racks. I finally, after my squad's rolling trash the whole game, I got a fantastic roll out of the MC30, which made up for it completely, and I just absolutely popped this. Now, I probably didn't need the God roll here because I could have, I could ram it obviously if I want to, or I also still have my front shot, so it's still 3 more dice going at it. But I got the nuts roll, and so I popped everything and one-shot it, which was fantastic. This is after the first activation on round 6. I kind of jumped forward a little bit here, and as you can see, he was not able to slow down, didn't have any nav dials left. He had a natural squad dial on it, almost killed Ketsu, ended up killing, I think Korin was still alive, so he killed Korin, so I'm just down to 2 squads. But he didn't have any more Bale navs, and he didn't have a nav natively on the ship, and so he flew right off the board. There was not a whole lot he could do at that point, which I think I may have still been able to kill it, because at this point it was on 1 or 2 hull, and I have a long-range shot here, plus Ketsu, who's not locked down because that's heavy. And she has grit anyway, and so I would have been able to go up and attack him, but him flying off was just a bonus for me. And then here, he went with that first, so I now have this juicy double on this Pelta, and even though my squad situation is not looking very good, I've got some flak that I can do with this ship here and attack the Pelta. This is the end of the game. That Pelta had nowhere to go. I ended up killing it with a ram from the assault frigate. I also killed Ahsoka and got him down to 4 squads to my 2. For the last couple rounds, he just straight up stopped attacking Shara. He didn't want to have to deal with her, which I understand. But she was able to lock down 3 squads for the last 2 or 3 rounds of the game, which was huge. And between my 2 combat ships, I was able to kill that Pelta. So one thing I want to point out in this game is, besides playing KG, I also pointed out my obvious mistake with my squads. I should not have, lost the squad war that badly. And his kind of mistake of jumping to 3 and then not being able to get out of that situation where he went off the board. This was a fantastic game. I'll back up to for kind of a, not to toot my own horn, but a clinic on how to use a black dice ship like the MC30 or like Demolisher or something like that as second player. I end up playing second a lot. I think my objectives for this list work well with it, and I'm fine, playing KG and playing my game. But as second player, the MC30 tends to be a lot less lethal, and in a lot of games, it doesn't get to do a whole lot because my opponents just move away from it. But this was a game where I was able to threaten his flagship enough that he almost always went first with it, and then I could move the MC30 to attack these 2. So I got a close range double arc on one Pelta, and then a close range double arc on another Pelta. And that's not something I get to do often, which is why I was happy here and why I want to point it out. But it's kind of just like a word of advice, which may be obvious to a lot of people. But when you're second player and you have something that needs to get to close range, it's very, very important that you try to fork or threaten something else as much as you can. If I don't have a lot of threat on the acclimator, he can just go first with these Peltas and get out of my double arcs, or even get out of close range. And that's one of the risks you run when you take second with a black dice ship. But if you're able to threaten multiple things like this, that's when you can finally get some really, really good use out of a ship that really would prefer to be going first. So I was very happy with how I flew this game in terms of my ships, not so much my squads. I played them quite poorly, but in terms of ships, I was very happy with this game. So this ends up being a 330 to 155 win for me, which is another 8-3. If that acclimator doesn't die, it's a much closer game. I still win because neither of my combat ships died, and I got a few objective tokens. He got none. I think I ended with 2 to his 0, so 30 points for free. That's nice. He won the squad war, but I won the ship war there. And so 8-3 for me. Admiral Ream, again, that was a very fun game. I was feeling so bad about it because my squads were rolling so poorly. I was, kind of dejected after I rolled 14 blues with no hits. But it ended up being a really fantastic game, and you were a great opponent. So I hope I get to play you again sometime. These are the standings. You can go through them at your leisure. If you want to pause the video, this is round 2. And so that matches me up round 3 at top table with Maturin. I hope I'm saying that right, against James. And James, as I pointed out, was running the Plo Koon list. Plo Koon on an Acclimator with Navuta B, 2 Peltas and a Consular. Kind of a similar list to Reams. Obviously different commander and a different squad ball, but same deal. Acclimator, 2 Peltas and a Consular with Mercy Mission and 8 squads. This squad ball I knew I was going to have a much tougher time with because only Anakin is heavy. My advantage against Ream is that he only has 3 squads that are not heavy versus James has 7 squads that are not heavy. So this one I was not feeling as good about. I also knew that for this one I definitely couldn't engage into him with my ships because he would get to do Plo Koon stuff, and I worried that if my squads got flacked down, he would have 1 or 2 turns after that to start bombing me with his squads in Plo Koon range, really starting to tear through my ships. And so this game, let me pull it up. This was deployment. He picked my fighter ambush again. So 2 Garlists with heavy squads against my fighter ambush. Really good test of it, for sure. This is how we deployed, kind of similar to the last game. A lot of things were similar. He had 2 prox mines out there. I just deployed along the back edge, and I had kind of the same plan. I was going to try to slowly swing this way and try to catch out a ship, and this time I was determined to not be an idiot when it came to the squad war, and so I was going to keep my squads close to my ships so I'd have flak support, and he didn't. This was a very, I don't know that I'd call it boring, not very exciting to watch game for the first 4 rounds because all we did was slowly creep up the sides of the board. For example, I'm just going to jump right to it. This is the start of round 4. As you can see, we have not moved much, no ships have engaged, no dice have been rolled yet. I think it only took us like 20 minutes to get to this point. We're already on round 4. But finally, things start to happen. I've got Shara up here protecting my side because we're playing fighter ambush, so I don't really want him to be able to bomb this for free and get points. But I also don't want him to be able to alpha my rogues. I need to use them to counter alpha. And while a lot of his squads are slow, he's got 4 arcs and they're all speed 2. So this arc is not relevant. This one I don't think can get to where it needs to get to, but he does have deltas and he's got axe, and so he can do some shenanigans with reducing damage and stuff like that. But as first player, he gets to activate, I believe, 5 squads with that acclimator, and so I put Shara in the one place I thought he would go, and then all my squads back here ready to counter alpha in flak range. So he jumps in, he sends 5 squads, and they all go after Shara, and it takes, I believe, all 5 of them to kill her with a combination of him not rolling accuracies when he needed to and the way damage worked out. Shara was able to take, I think, 4 or 5 squad shots, which was really big. That, I wouldn't say it swung the game in my favor, but it was very fortunate for me. He had mentioned that the whole tournament he'd been rolling very hot, and that he said that it kind of ran out this game because his squads, some of the attacks he rolled no damage on, not necessarily against Shara, but just throughout the game. I think 2 of his arcs rolled 0 damage on 4 dice, which was big for me. And I think other than that, he rolled pretty average, but he definitely did not roll hot, and that contributed to me having an advantage in the squad war, because I rolled pretty average, maybe slightly above average. Well, I don't actually remember any of my shots being incredible, but I didn't roll badly like I did against Reem. I actually rolled fine. And so this is the situation at the start of round 5. As you can see, he has killed Shara, but I took out 3 of his squads with a combination of Flak and my counter alpha. I got both of the V19s and Anakin. And while the arcs are annoying because they have counter 1, they're not heavy, and they've got 7 hull, and they hit decently hard, getting rid of both V19s was big because that's 5 dice that I'm not taking now with flight controllers. From each of them, plus getting rid of Anakin, the threat of him getting in to bomb my ships is gone. I know at this point, I mean, with the hull on my squads and in flak range, he's not going to be able to score any points off the objective, which is what I was worried about. So this is an example of what my list is supposed to do, is if I'm up against heavy squads, just play them super close to the chest, get them to where the assault frigate can flak some things and use Ruthless Strategist and stuff like that. And where my GR75s can actually do something, instead of, like against Reem, where I just sent them out on their own and they got demolished. So this is a much better example of how my list is supposed to work against squads. Also helps when your opponent's not rolling super hot. This is the start of round 6. He brought the Consular in here along the bottom. It's got Mercy Mission. It's going to get the Mercy Mission. There's nothing I can do to stop it. And he's got, he killed another one of my squads. It looks like one of my YTs. And I've got him down to 3 arcs in a great spot for flak range and stuff like that. And importantly, I was able to bring Ketsu and Lando down here to harass this and get an objective token. With Lando's automatic double. I think I rolled 3 damage against this, and he didn't want to burn a defense token. So that was fantastic. It was a free 15 points in what's a very close game, so every point matters. So that also kind of forced him to go with this first because it is in range of the assault frigate. I believe it is double arced, and that's not where it wants to be. So he had to go first with that ship down here, which means I was able to go first with the assault frigate, do some flacking with all my ships, have my squads go, and I end up, I believe, losing. I definitely lose this YT, and I kill all of his arcs. And so I wipe his squad ball, and I think I survived with definitely these 3 right here, I'm pretty sure. Or maybe one of them died. I ended up with 3 or 4 squads left, which is a very, very good showing for my list against, a squad ball as deadly as his. The big difference being I was able to use my flak for most of the game, and he was only able to flak the last turn here, or the last 2 turns. So this, while not a super exciting game to start with, was a lot of maneuvering and a pretty good squad fight at the end there. And it ended up being a 6-5 win for me, 130 to 105. I did the math going into the squad phase. I believe it was the squad phase of the final round. I was down 105 to 100, and I was able to kill his last 2 arcs and get the 6-5 win. So this is, again, you can pause. These are the results after the final round of the tournament. Skycake pulled out a 504. That's ridiculous. Some other big wins. Reem got a pretty big win here. And we end up, at the end of the day, I got 2nd place. I went undefeated. I was the only person to go undefeated, but I was not able to beat James by enough to make up for the gap in tournament points. As you can see, at the end of round 2, he got a 10 and a 9, and so I was down 3 tournament points at that point because I got 2 8s, and I was only able to make up the gap by 1. I would have had to beat him 8-3 to win the tournament, and there really wasn't a way that was going to happen. Because I think I absolutely could have killed his Acclimator and maybe a Pelta, but the way I'd have to play for that to happen, I'd probably have to go first player, and he would be in his flak range, being able to actually use Splokoon. He may have been able to wipe my squads or get very close to it and then started hitting my ships. So I think I would have definitely lost the MC30. And so I decided, you know what, I'll play safe. If he jumps in and engages, we'll fight it out. But other than that, I was content to take the 6-5 and take second place. I feel like if I would have lost big, then it would have knocked me down. So I end up second with 22 points. James wins with 24. Congratulations. I was impressed that Plo Koon was able to win. Not a huge tournament and not only 3 rounds, but 24 points out of Plo Koon I feel like is fantastic, even with a loss especially, because he's able to average an 8, and I think that's fantastic with the Plo Koon. I would love to hear about your first 2 games, James, how you were able to get such high scores. Like you had mentioned, you rolled hot, so maybe that was it. But I've always thought that was something that Gar lists outside of Lumi Demoven with Svats, most Gar lists kind of struggle to win big, and so I was very impressed that you won so handily in your first 2 games, along with Reem. 18 points. Again, that was pretty big wins for Gar as well. So I'm very happy with how this went. It was a great tune-up for Adepticon. I thought my list did quite well, especially when I gave Fighter Ambush to 2 heavy squad lists and still won both games. I think I'm pretty happy with that. I also had the strongest strength of schedule because I played the guy who got first, the guy who got third, and the guy who got fifth. So I'm happy that it wasn't just like good luck or new players or something like that. It was a actual earned second place going undefeated. So I really look forward to Adepticon. I know I will see some of you there, dear viewers. Joseph, I'm looking forward to seeing you there. I know you're going for sure. Anyone else who's going, feel free to let me know. I look forward to meeting you at the tournament. I've got a lot of exciting content in the pipeline here. I've got interviews with the Vassal World Cup finalists that I need to edit and post. And then I will obviously have a recap of Adepticon, no matter how I do, even if I go 0-4. I will be doing the final commander tier list of all the commanders combined. I've had a few requests for that, and I think that'd be a fun thought exercise, so I'm going to do that one. And then after that, probably I want to do some more battle reports, and then maybe some in-depth analyses of lists and cards and stuff like that. If you guys want to see anything in particular, please let me know in the comments. I am very much open to suggestions. But thank you so much for watching this video, this tournament recap. Like I said, I hope to meet a lot of you at Adepticon or in future tournaments. And thank you very much for subscribing and supporting this content. I really appreciate it. I'll catch you guys later.